Corey Miller, 9-year NFL vet, played at South Carolina. He does everything. And I don't know, Corey, you never sleep. You're always on social media. You're doing sports. You're following Hootie and the Blowfish. You're doing it all. Good morning, buddy. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, man, you got to stay active. I'm getting ready to turn 50 this year, brother. So I told somebody this yesterday. My ladder is going to be greater. My ladder will be greater. So I want the second 50 years to be better than my first 50. So I got to stay active.
Yeah, you're on the way, buddy. Hey, obviously Corey is the dad of Christian Miller, who will be starting outside linebacker. He talked about how much he loved this time of year. He was singing what Nick Saban likes to hear. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you about it as a parent of a child that plays Division I football, especially at a school like Alabama. We've seen Jalen Hurts come out and maybe defend himself. We've heard his dad, his mom came back and she didn't like some of the things that were being said about her son. I think you've dealt with that as well. By when your son came to Alabama, I think some of the South Carolina people laughed and made fun of him. I wanted you to kind of say, how hard is that as a parent now with social media? Now, growing up as a son of a basketball coach at Alabama, I would hear things, and I don't think people understand the difficulty of that. People say you should bite your tongue, you should bite your lip, that Jalen's dad started all this stuff. Just talk about how it feels to be a parent and hear negative stuff about your kid and defending them.
Extremely difficult because it's your kid, and, that's your blood. And for me, it was very hard because I'm very strongly opinionated to start with. And, I always had that attitude of, you're never going to say nothing about my family or whomever that I love, and I'm going to come at you. And so, I fought back some and just felt like, after a while, what am I thinking? What am I doing? Because I had to think about my kid. I didn't want him to be under any more pressure or scrutiny than he already was. So I bailed out a little bit, but it's difficult, man, when people are coming at you, and you said it, especially with social media. You see this stuff, and people can try to get to you by hitting you up on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. It's hard to really not say anything. I felt so bad for Jalen's parents. What do you do? I mean, anything you say is going to get magnified, whether you mean it that way or not. But people are coming at your kid. I mean, how can you not? You know what I'm saying? How can you not say something, and how can you not defend your kid? And so, man, it's one of the most difficult things I had to do. That's why I try to kind of stay back from the coaching part of it while I was waiting. I didn't say stuff because I knew people would try to ask you things to get you to say certain things so they can make a story out of it. And I just had to, be smart about it. Say, you know what, I'm not even going to ask that question. I'm going to always be positive. I'm always going to think about the kid, think about the program. And if I had an issue that I wanted to talk about, I would take that up with Coach Saban or his position coach. And I always told Christian, hey, if you got an issue, you go talk to the coach. You can tell me about it. And then if you need me, if it's something I see that is an issue, oh, yeah, I'll get on the phone. I'll make a trip 6 hours down the road, and I can have a conversation. But if it was something about playing time, it was always for me, do what you're supposed to do and compete, do your thing. And if I felt like they were treating them wrongly, then I would do that internally, and I wouldn't go to the media or the press.
Yeah, before Dad, actually, let me take it one step further. A lot of people here blame Jalen's dad, who you know very well, and say, well, he's the one that started all the controversy by saying if he's not the starter, then he's going to be however he worded, the biggest transfer ever. Jalen never said a word. I heard it was taken out of context, so people are blaming Jalen's dad for starting all this stuff. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, what he said was basically true. I mean, that, hey, you know what, if something went down and if he decided to transfer, he would be the biggest free agent out there in college football. And, of course, boy, that thing blew up. But listen, man, that's a lot of pressure. And I feel everything that I read and hear, my heart hurts for the kid, for his family. This guy has won, 26 games, 27 games, lost 2, had 1 turnover last season. Now nobody wants to talk about it, and fans are like that. And I know it's only a 10%, that fringe lunatic that says crazy stuff, but you feel it. And it's almost like this guy's done so much for this football team that now one half of freaking football, and it pees me off. I'm going to tell you that right now. One half of football, and now we got this guy going in the first round. We got this guy, going to be the starter. I've never heard of any coach that put a player one half, and I know it was a big half. Don't misunderstand me here, but how can you do that? I mean, compete. And I know Coach Saban is not going to let one half of football just go, he's a starter because he can throw the football better. When you got a guy over here that's won 26, 27 games, same guy that got you in the lead a couple of years ago against Clemson, the national championship game, put you ahead, but the defense failed. Now this guy, people want to throw in the toilet. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, Dad.
I want to ask you something that does not relate at all to Maryland. It probably relates to what, and doesn't relate to Alabama. It relates to you, I guess. And I know nothing about football. I know little. I think there are times in pre-practice, whether it be in college or whether it be in the pros, you may want to tell me the difference, that players that are ready to play get hurt in pre-practice when they really don't need, outside of the offensive lineman being able to block better, learning that, and the defensive backs that are new, trying to get better. I think sometimes I look at South Carolina, I look at a lot of these people, so-and-so's out for the year. He's out for the year because, he's hurt in practice, and Barry disagrees. And I understand. You've got to, you got to knock in order to see if a guy can knock. But I think sometimes if I got two or three guys I really think can play, and I leave them out, and I bring in three freshmen and see if they can play first. And I look up every time I look up, somebody's out for the year at one of these schools. Am I wrong on that? I'm sure I am.
No, well, you're not wrong because it does happen. And when you're saying pre-practice, you mean like before the game?
Yeah, right now, like right now.
Yeah, you're talking about practice before preseason practice.
Right now, getting ready for the first game. Yeah, it may be totally different. I guess it's probably totally different in the pros. There's a lot less knocking in the pros, I'm sure, in this time of the year than it is in college.
Yeah, the pros definitely is different because once you're established, as the incumbent, as a guy that they know that's going to start, they know what they can do. They're not going to ask you to do as much.
Yeah.
I always joke when I first got to the Giants and I was backing up LT. Guess what? I took all of the physical 9-on-7 reps. Like you said, I was the one getting knocked around and not doing the knocking. So they knew 56 what he could do on Sunday. I hadn't proven myself yet, but once I got about midway through the season, then that definitely wasn't the case. But I'm with you. If you know a guy can really play, he's your guy. I'm not going to put him in situations to get hurt. I do hate that about a lot of the coaches because, they got starters in there when they shouldn't be in there. They got starters. I'm not a fan of starters playing special teams, to be honest with you. Why you sending your guy down on a kickoff team knowing that you need him more, on that defense side or the offensive side? I know that we want our best players on the field. That's what they say. I get that. Not special teams. You got all these guys that are standing around, fresh legs. Let them go do that. Let them pay the price. And I never like, starters playing special teams. So I'm going to disagree with you, Barry. I think if you are a baller, you got to get your work in early. I think there's times in camp that you can go work. But after that first week or so, 2 weeks, and like now, if you're Alabama, you know who's going to be your starter. They know who it's going to be. And you're trying to figure out who the backups are going to be. And I think they should be getting more of those physical reps. You should be starting to rest the bodies of these athletes because they're going to get beat up. I mean, it's a long season.
Boy, it is.
Rest the legs, rest the body.
As you talk to Christian about this Alabama defense, they got some new faces over there, but they got some guys back. Mac Wilson, obviously your son, Bugs. Just talk about what has he seen out of the defense and maybe some of these young guys in the defensive secondary here.
So they got good players, and they're confident. And the front seven, first 7 are guys that have played a lot of snaps last season. Right now, it's just all about backups, developing that second tier of players, getting them ready to go, coaching them up. Secondary is the biggest question mark with Alabama's defense because you lost all those guys on the back end to the NFL draft. So, but he says a lot of good players, they're just young. They just haven't played a whole lot. So they're going to get better with the experience. They'll get better with each and every game. They feel good about it. They're going to fly around. I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive maybe than what we've seen. They think that they got guys that are more athletic, I should say, from a linebacker standpoint, guys that can do multiple things, and they're going to utilize it and try to get the best players on the field at all times.
Yep, Dan.
I had something I was going to ask him, and I can't think who it was. Ask him something else, but I had something that was important for me to ask you, and I forgot.
Corey, let's talk about, it's not necessarily the Maryland situation. Our good friend Rod Walters investigated that situation.
Right.
You're not going to tell me Maryland's working guys any harder than South Carolina or Alabama. I think the problem was when a guy did go down, their policies and procedures in place to handle that situation. But these guys go through the grueling workouts in the heat. It's unfortunate a situation like that happens, but it's not like Maryland's working their guys harder than these other schools, is it?
No, and I got a problem with the, fire the coach all of a sudden mentality because, they're in a toxic environment. I think that's the language that they use. Will Muschamp came out the other day in support of DJ Durkin, who coached for him 4 years, 2 years as the defensive coordinator. I met him before Christian even came to Alabama. He was committed to Florida, so I know the kind of environment in which they were doing down in Florida. And listen, everybody who's an athlete, especially major football, these guys work. They demand the whatever. They're going to push you to limits. They're going to see how far you can go from a mental standpoint. I heard Nick Saban even after practice talking about that, the mental toughness. That's part of it. Where they dropped the ball at Maryland was the people who was overseeing that program, not treating the kid when he got to that place of heat exhaustion or heat stroke, not putting his body in the ice tub, not checking his temperature based on what they said in the reports that came out. That's the issue I have. But we're talking about the yelling and screaming and pushing guys, and no, every football program does that. You're gonna get yelled at. You're gonna get cussed at. You're gonna get called soft. You're gonna get called all kinds of things. That's part of the mental challenge from a football standpoint. That's why a lot of people can't do it because they can't get through that. It's grueling. It's gruesome, and it's so unfortunate that Jordan McNair lost his life. And I feel bad that there was trainers and people on that field that are equipped and trained to deal with those situations and get the proper help. That's where they were negligent. But that if the coach wasn't there overseeing this program and watching this stuff going, I just don't see how he can be at fault. I don't see, he hired the guy, but, can he control every single thing? Now, if he was there and he was out there saying, don't help him, don't do this, but we don't know that. So
right.
I'm just saying, let's pump the brakes. Let's let all the facts come out. Let's let the investigation go forward and then come out and see what they should do. But they fired the strength coach and came to a settlement, $315,000. So obviously they saw something there. And these guys are with the strength coach all the time. That's why Cochran and Jeff Dillman and these guys getting paid $500,000 now because they are with these guys the entire summer. The coaches hardly ever see the players. So, I don't believe the toxic thing. I'm not buying it. I think people are ludicrous just, jumping to these conclusions when you don't know all the facts.
Yeah, if he had Urban Meyer's record, they would be finding every way to save him. It's just kind of where you are, which is a joke. I want to ask you about Scott Cochran. Luke Del Rio's come out and he says, hey, that's the difference between Florida and Alabama is Scott Cochran, the way he does it. And I know your son's come here. He's put on good weight. He's gotten faster, stronger. What makes Scott Cochran so much better than everybody else? Or does he? Is he just because he's got the great players? Is he better than everybody else?
Yeah, but you got great players, but you don't know how to utilize them and get the most out of them. Because sometimes that's the most difficult thing to do, right? You guys coach basketball and you got great talent. Sometimes the most difficult thing is to get those guys to work at a level, to be like Michael Jordan, who's the greatest player, but yet he worked harder than anybody else. And you need a special person that can do that. And that's Scott Cochran. He knows what buttons to push. He knows when to dial it back. He knows what the kids need from a psychological standpoint. He brings the energy every single day. And from a young athlete, what they look for is consistency with the person. If Scott Cochran was up and down, they would get those types of results. But he's smart. He understands it. He understands the kids. He understands the music that they listen to. He understands what pushes them to get them hyped. And he's smart at what he does. And these guys love it. And yet they work hard. Christian tells me about some of the workouts. I'm in my mind going, my gosh. You know what I mean? How many hundreds y'all have to run? What y'all have to do? But it's like, you know what? That's why he said, I enjoy it. I love this time of the season because the camaraderie, the team building, going to work and doing these types of things with your brother. And Scott Cochran is the key. I mean, he is the key. I know we talked about Coach Saban. All his success is 5 out of 9 national championships, 6 total. But, man, go look at Scott Cochran. There's a reason why he's the highest paid, I believe, strength coach in the country. He is the difference maker, and that's what I'm saying. These guys spend a lot of time the whole summer with these kids, and you got to be consistent in your message, consistent in your teaching, and all of that stuff. And I've sat in that office with him, and when Christian got there, he talked about the goals. He talked about A.J. McCarron and the goals he had written down. And he held them guys and made them accountable to the things that they said. And so that's the difference.
Yep.
My questions are so good. I've been so long, I can't remember all of them. When I was with Coach Bryant, when they had a players meeting of 10 players, so forth, players didn't talk a lot. Coach Bryant was very, very good, but also very intimidating. And to some degree, Coach is the same way. And I don't know whether Christian is presented in this to you or not, but when Coach says, I'm going to start the quarterback that has control of the team. When they get in those 10-man meetings, whether Christian's in there or not, he would know. When those 10 players get in there with Coach, they don't say, I think so-and-so ought to start, but they I guess, do they give their thoughts and analogy of how things are going, and is that what they do with Coach Saban, maybe more so than Coach Bryant?
Well, I think, he's established that leadership council, and, those guys become the mouthpiece of the football team.
That's important.
They know that's very important, and
yeah.
They know what's going on in the locker room.
Yeah.
I would almost bet you that Coach Saban wants to know what's the buzz, what are they saying? Because these guys are on the phones, they're on everything. They hear what the media's saying, they hear what's so they're talking amongst one another, and they're going to come to Coach Saban. He's going to ask him, what's the pulse of this team? Well, who are guys following? What are they saying? So that helps them handle the situation, or helps them deal with that whole deal, the quarterback situation, because everybody, that's all they care about. Nobody. But when you talk Alabama football, nobody's talking about all the defensive players that they've lost. All they're focused on is the quarterback. Who's going to be the starter? Oh, it's Tua. Got to be Tua. They don't know. They say stuff that has nothing to do with nothing. I just heard a national station the other day on Paul Feinbaum saying, well, Tua's the guy. He's got to be the guy. So some player said something after the scrimmage, and now, I'm not sure if Jalen's going to be the second-team quarterback. I believe Matt Jones could beat him out because he's got player of the game in the scrimmage. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think
we got this guy, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, to now fight to be a second-team quarterback. I mean, so yeah, Coach Saban, he controls it pretty nicely.
I think those meetings are really so important, and naturally you're going. They've separated the offensive coordinator from the quarterback coach. I think that's great, and I know Nick Saban has his own thoughts. I'm not stupid, but I do think that those 10 guys or whatever player representatives uh, you know, he gives a lot of thought to what they think.
He cares about what they think, and I'll say this: that however how it unfolds, you know, both these guys are going to play, and I think you're going to see. It's just my own opinion, and it's not coming from anything, but just knowing how these situations play out, knowing the great talent that both these guys present. I don't know how you not play them. There might just be rhythm. You know, who's got the hot hand? Well, we're going to start this guy, but because of Alabama, Coach Saban don't even. When you say starter, he goes, "Yeah, that's fine." But all these guys have a role, and all these guys play, and all these guys are important to our success at Alabama. So, yeah, it sounds good sometimes to trot out on the field as the first guy, but if you do the right things and you work your tail off, you're going to play, you're going to help the team, you're going to win championships. And that's what he's done a great job of getting these guys to buy into that. It's not, oh, I'm not starting, or I'm pouting. No, you're going to play and you're important. Your role's important. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think both these guys are going to play. There's no way Jalen Hurts is going to sit there on the bench and hold a clipboard.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's too good.
No, he certainly, and he's a great kid, dude. Corey, appreciate it very much, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.